This video is the Militia Auxiliary support activities during conflict. Now, the Militia Auxiliary are the people that are taking a supporting role. They cannot participate in combat typically. This could be because of moral convictions. It could be because of some type of physical impairment. It could be because of obligations, which could be familial or their position in the society or the area where they'll be best used as kind of a spy on the inside type thing. Now, we have 6 main areas that the Militia Auxiliary will support the militia through: logistics, intelligence, transportation, medical support, postal and information. Postal is passing the mail back and forth. Information is getting information out to the people. And then also light sabotage. Now your militia auxiliary, most of them are going to be stay-behinds. Occasionally you may have some that will deploy to the field, especially with the medical. It may be determined that we need to have a doctor with us, or we need to have some additional nursing support or some other type of specialist with the unit at that time. So then that auxiliary member is given a uniform and they are brought out to the unit. But the majority of them will be stay-behinds. Logistics is their primary duty. They are growing or producing food and items needed for the unit. They could also be buying it on the black market, possibly from the enemy forces. They could be trading for it. They could be stealing it from the enemy stocks through pilferage. And then there's also repair of equipment that is damaged. And you could throw in their uniforms and gear also. Intelligence is a close second. A lot of the times it'll be done the same time as the logistics. They're observing the enemy, they're listening to conversations of the enemy and also the locals, and they're passing the information on to the intelligence cell in the militia out in the field. Transportation is moving items and people for the unit. Now this can be done as drivers. They're driving trucks, driving cars, driving horse-drawn carts, who knows. It could also be as guides. A guide moving a unit through a particular area. Example, you're traveling through a swamp or a particularly tough part of the woods. It's an area that is slow going. It may be extremely dangerous to move through, but we get a guide who knows the area pretty well from the Militia Auxiliary, and they guide you through there as quick as possible or practical. On the medical, they would be running safe houses for the care of wounded, and that safe house could literally be just a closet that's hidden in the house. It could be a room hidden in the basement, or an area set aside in the attic or underneath the barn. Now, they could also be keeping watch over what is basically an established expedient hospital. It could be a room somewhere that is stocked with medical supplies. It has a table or something in there set up that could be used as an operating table. And then you would call in a doctor and nursing personnel to come in to that particular location to take care of some of the wounded quickly. And then once the wounded are taken care of, they're moved to a safe house as soon as possible to recover. Now, it's possible the wounded would have to get moved between the safe houses on a regular basis so they do not get captured by enemy patrols and during enemy sweeps. Postal is just that, a postal service, passing the mail back and forth between the family members and the militia. And then our information, you could consider that your propaganda center. They will write up, print, and disseminate Patriot news. They could do that through print, as in newsletters, putting up posters and so forth. They could be passing it out electronically by using of thumb drives. Or you could even go even more old-fashioned, back to the old hard disks. The old hard floppy disks, the little ones about yay big. And it could also be running pirate radio and television stations. Who knows, maybe they're making video and that stuff, putting it on VCR tapes, passing those around. Now, sabotage, like I said, it will be low level, it will be clandestine. This is damage that is done to enemy stocks and equipment. So that could be, you know, leaving plastic off of bags of concrete so that they get wet during a rainstorm. It could be breaking seals on food storage so that the stuff gets contaminated and it spoils. It could be putting additives in fuel stocks so that it will cause the engines to malfunction or seize up. There's lots of little stuff that people did during the Second World War that was kind of passive sabotage, little things that they did that caused the enemy big problems after a while. But it took time so that the person that did it was out of the area before the problems started to occur. Now, I suppose I should mention this. On the info, and possibly on the postal, one of the things I've come across in the counterinsurgency stuff is the use of children and women to pass the information. They are less likely to be checked over quickly or thoroughly. Now, one thing I've considered is with females is they have a intimate way of being able to transport those thumb drives around without the enemy knowing about it. Just put those thumb drives inside a latex protective pouch, wrapping it with some string. They hide said material in a way that makes it look like that they are menstruating at the time. And there you go. They're using their prison wallet, so to speak, or the female version of it, to transport around that information. I really debated about mentioning that one. Now, the Militia Auxiliary needs to operate in a cell structure because for the most part they're going to be operating inside urban centers. So they need to be a max of personnel in each cell. You'll have a cell in charge of each of these areas. A max of 4 to 8 people. Depending on what the cell is, determines the size. Your bigger elements will probably be your medical and your logistics. Transportation, you basically just shift people as needed if you need additional drivers, or you need to pull someone from another cell. You're going to have a command cell that's over all of this. Each cell must only know the people that are in their cell. They must not know people that are in other cells. but there should be a max of 2 people in the cell that has contacts with people in other cells, and that'll primarily be through dead drops or some other types of means that has been prearranged and set up. Now, the Militia Auxiliary members should have few, if any, weapons, because they're going to be living in the communities that the enemy has control of. They're still going to be moving through. They're going to be looking for weapons. They get caught with a weapon, they're going to get arrested, they're going to get taken in, they're going to get interrogated. And sooner or later they will break. It always happens. Now, what few weapons there are should be small weapons that are easy to conceal. Examples would be pistols, submachine guns, sawed-off shotguns, carbines. Light machine guns only for protecting depots and storage sites. And ideally, what weapons there are should only be around those storage sites. You do not want your couriers who are transporting mail or information to have a weapon, because if they get caught with a weapon, they're going to get searched more thoroughly. Research World War II on this, okay? There's information from World War II as to how the resistance conducted this stuff. The Militia Auxiliary must have no uniforms or any type of identifying information indicating to the enemy that they are a member of the Militia Auxiliary or a member of the militia. No uniforms at any time. They must blend in with the population 100%. If a Militia Auxiliary member is supposed to join the militia out in the field, the militia should pass them a uniform to change into when they go out. Now, something that I've come across, recommendations for this type of system, the command element of it, the command cell, should never gather more than 2/3 of their people at any one location at the same time. So that way, if a raid is conducted, that gathering is picked up and rounded up by the enemy, you still have members that are still out there that can still run the organization. You'll have one person who's in charge of each cell. That person will report to someone in the command. That person they're reporting to in the command, these people must not know what that person's position is. They must not know that, hey, that person's the second in command, that person's the commander, that's the person in charge of plans, that's the person in charge of this. There needs to be as much guesswork as possible in this. So if the enemy captures one particular cell, like the Sabotage cell, they're not going to be able to round up all the other cells with that information that they capture from this part of it. Now, you also got to figure in there too, you're going to have infiltrators. It's going to happen. Someone will work their way in there that's working for the enemy, a mole. You don't want them to learn too much information either. So even the person that's in charge of this cell does not know much of anything about the command cell. Even if that, or especially if, for the eventuality that that infiltrator becomes the head of that cell. So, with the logistics that's gathered up, as quickly as possible, it should be pushed out to the militia or to caches as quick as possible so that it's not sitting in a location that will draw attention of the enemy if they move through the area. When they are purchasing and acquiring food, they should spread it out, get it from multiple locations, not do a big bulk purchase from one particular spot. Draws less attention that way. So, this is information I've been able to glean from a few different sources. U.S. military counterinsurgency, counter-guerrilla manuals, and also a book called Guerrilla Days in Ireland by General Tom Barry. So now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia movements, always remember, essayons.